All right, in this video, I'm going to be sharing how I was able to turn my calendar into a drill sergeant. So when I mean that, I literally mean that because when you own and control your time, which is really the asset that you can't get back, you have unbelievable time management and focus that just moves through you throughout the whole entire day. And for the longest time, I didn't really understand the power of being able to fully manage your time in terms of like block by block, minute by minute, things like that, because I was just like, this doesn't make sense to pre-plan out my full entire day. Because how do I know whether or not I can actually plan it out? How do I know what am I going to do minute to minute, right? But over time, especially too, if you're on your personal development journey, if you're going out there and doing things on a routinely basis, it doesn't mean you will know exactly what you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis, but you will know that tomorrow, probably between 9 and 11 a.m. or say 12 and 5 p.m., whatever, you're going to be doing some sort of deep work. We tend to remember these general themes of what we're going to be doing in our calendars. And the real big trick to unlock massive flow state, productivity, get way more done versus just being all the time distracted is to fully time block your days. And I'm going to be going here kind of explaining how my current calendar system works. And by the way, I am not like the person who invented these ideas or anything like that. It's just through pure exploration, testing different routines, finding what works, what doesn't work, and just using myself pretty much as a guinea pig, where I've kind of found a system that I've been using for quite some time now, and I find it really useful. It always locks me in every single day. I feel like I don't waste my time on distractions. You'll see on my calendar here how minimal distractions I have throughout the day, and I'll kind of explain to you the system that works here and how you can unlock massive flow, massive focus on what you're doing, and how you can minimize distraction to pretty much almost zero. So first off, let's just kind of come to the theory of why a lot of time management systems fail, and the reason why. So for instance, this is just kind of like a templatized version of what my current calendar as of moment now looks like. So I know there's a lot going on here, but let me explain. So firstly, I just want to credit Flow State Research Collective for this basic layout, because this is where I kind of sourced my inspiration, and I'm still kind of like building onto it and just kind of exploring with my own little methods to it. But like I said, I don't claim that I owned or invented the system, so credit is due to them. So you can check them out. Let's just kind of explain some things going on, because the first real big myth that I realized was because I was following productivity systems for the longest times, and I was always creating these sorts of to-do lists. So when you have a to-do list, so you could be like, okay, you have this to-do, you can pretty much make this list infinite. So you can say these are all just different tasks of things you got to do. And then, I mean, this list can become infinite because you're just checking things off. Like, okay, I did this thing, maybe I did this thing, maybe I did this thing. And throughout the day, they tend to either grow, or you just one day find yourself doing 12 things. Another day you find yourself doing 3 things. Then another day you find yourself doing 5. So it's very variable, right? And the problem with this, and the big problem that I found with to-do lists, is that to-do lists and task lists, they are pretty much infinite. So meaning you can have an infinite amount of tasks to do, but your time is not infinite. So if you really want to get something done, and if you really want to see it done within a certain time, so like by the end of today, within the next hour, then it deserves to be on your calendar. So if it's not on the calendar, the thing is not going to get done, period. And once I unlocked that simple frame of thinking where, oh, if I want this thing done, then this is going to go on my calendar. Otherwise, it's just not going to get done. So I literally plan out everything. So whether it's going to groceries, whether it's sleeping, whether it's my start time to work, my finish time, whether it's my powering down ritual, whether it's like some sort of reading in the morning, whether it's some sort of gym time, whatever it is, everything is currently planned out. And I do tend to switch up my calendar here and there. So I kind of like get out of a habit. I can test new experiments, see what is actually more optimal for my chronotype, for my biology, for my just personality, what is less. And over time, the longer you do this, you start to find things that actually work more in favor of you. Some people, they like to have their more productive hours in the middle of the day or even at night. For me, I've learned through just years of optimization that the best peak flow state hours for me, at least, is like really early in the morning. So I try to just bang out a quick workout and then just go right into the deep flow state right away. But I do feel like I need some sort of reboot, some sort of calibration period in the morning, or some sort of like slow run up so I can like, okay, get my brain activated. I like to personally just read some stuff in the morning, maybe go do a quick workout, and then boom, I'm just going right into flow state. I feel at my peak, my alertness is on point, and then from there I can just slip easily into flow. So now let me explain to you the importance of actually going out there and creating these various different systems inside of your calendar. So like by the end of all this, if you set it up the right way, you can literally go from task to task to task and just be in pure flow all freaking day. I know in the beginning, it's kind of hard when you're just kind of like learning things online. People are like, oh, you got to do this for 60 minutes, then take a 5-minute break, do another 60-minute deep flow work, and then from there, take a 5 to 10-minute break. Like, I think that's all bullshit at the end of the day, because I've been able to at times just focus for 3, 4, 5 hours straight, right? And that just comes through repetition, doing volume, and just forcing yourself into work, and not only enjoying what you're doing, but also at the same time being able to know what exactly is the next thing that you got to do. So the very first thing, just so we can actually get into the tactical weeds of how this all works, is first off, you want to have various different calendars on your Google Calendar. So let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. So I noticed it was kind of cut off, but basically what you want to do is you want to have different kinds of calendars. So whether it is your primary tasks, some sort of active recovery, some sort of high leverage actions, other work, sleep, social. I have general tasks, but honestly, this doesn't even need to be activated, but nonetheless, that can be there. But this is for like things at the top. And then also this calendar right here, which is called time evaporation. But at the end of the day, this is just things that are wasting your time. So think social media, TV, maybe just brain rot on TikTok or something like that. So that's pretty much what time evaporation means. So let me explain. So when it comes to actually doing your primary work, so first off, you need to know what your attention and energy is going focused towards, because for the most part, like a third of our lives, or maybe even more than that, is spent on work. So what are you even doing, right? So you want to have, say, roughly 2 to 3 concrete themes or primary tasks that move you forward in terms of any area of your life that you're looking to achieve. So whether you're running a marathon, or whether you are growing a business, whether you are in school, whatever it is, you want to have roughly 2 to 3 main primary tasks per day where you can easily just put that on your calendar. And then this is whatever the time block or time you allotted for this. These are moving the ball forward no matter what it is. So for instance, I have here templatized versions of this, but here would be like, okay, if I'm working currently right now with a partner, I would just name this block by the partner, and then everything within it, I would go literally bullet by bullet, explain everything what I'm doing. So let's say the very first thing within this block would be like, for instance, today I was optimizing a VIP checkout page, compare analytics, optimize live event slides. So as you can see here, I'm trying to prioritize things that I can work on in this initial deep block. And this would be actually called whatever I'm working on, right? But in this case, since I'm just trying to keep it broad for the purpose of this video, I'm just naming it this. So for you, it could be like a deep study session. And the first study session could be, okay, you're understanding marine life, and then something about oceans. And then another thing, okay, build out the slides for this for your presentation later in class, right? But that's just an example. And then I would save this. And then now when I look into this block for what I got to do today, I know exactly, okay, what this block's about. And then here, I know exactly task to task to task, what I'm going to be doing next, right? And here's the thing, like, we have roughly an hour here. So what you want to do is you want to know exactly what you can accomplish within that hour. So if you know there's going to be only one thing you can accomplish in an hour, then just put one thing. If you know you could do 2, 3, 4, 5 things, then just put those things and then try to rank them by priority. And also too, it's a best practice that whenever you're creating these time blocks throughout the day, that you know exactly, first off, what's the big priority for the whole entire day. So whether it's in block 1, 2, 3 for your primary tasks. And I know I said 2, 3 things, so like one of these actually don't belong here, but it's just like a template. So anyway, what you want to do is you want to prioritize everything. So you're getting the biggest things out of the way first. And as you're kind of creating these blocks here throughout the day, so you know exactly what you're working on and stuff, then what you're doing is you're also trying to And by the way, when you're creating this for your first time in the beginning, because your calendars are not going to look like this, you have to put some sort of system in place. What you want to do is, like, if you're not going to be doing this first, maybe come in and just try to create it best of your knowledge of what your current routines look like, your habits. When do you usually eat dinner? When do you usually, I don't know, check email? When do you usually go on social media? You literally want to track everything. Track everything, whether it's in a Google Sheet, whether it's just on your notes app, or even in your calendar. Just put in your best guess. What do you start? When do you start today? How long things usually tend to take you. And then from there, you want to pretty much track everything so you know exactly what your days are looking like. So in the beginning, I know, okay, I usually sleep for about 8 hours. I know I do like a quick little morning routine in the morning, which I feel right now serves me, but who knows, it could change in the future. Then I do a little workout, do a quick shower. Then I have some breakfast. I have a start time right here for like when the actual work starts. From there, we go into the initial first goal I am prioritizing for the day. Then I usually do like a quick check of like just some messages, things I got going on. And then I go on a quick walk. Then I focus on the other priority for the day. And then we got another quick check for whether it's like something reactive, email, admin work, whatever. And then we go back into a new deep workflow block, right? Dinner, more admin, and then basically some either free time, or I can just continue off on a similar thread or theme that I had earlier. And I can do that all the way until 7 p.m., which is usually my finish line. And more recently, I've been experimenting with taking full Sundays off. So I'm not just like in a constant workflow state every single day, but more so my Sundays can be dedicated to reflective time, social activities, or some sort of hobbies I'm really interested in, maybe catching up on some learning, saved posts I am finding on X or whatnot, and just kind of keeping things very simple, right? So everything usually goes here, whether it's talking to people, connecting with people, whether it is something I want to do, everything that you want to do, or you just don't have time for today, or something just comes to you. Don't just leave things to chance where you're just kind of like, oh yeah, I'll do this, or I'll wing my time. No, that goes on a calendar. Do I have time today for it, or do I not have time for it today? And by the way, this is not like how my full calendar looks like when it's like fully fleshed out with all the detail and everything. I mean, some of that is just kind of sensitive, so I'm not going to keep that here, but this is just like a general version of like the template of how it looks like and how you can potentially get yours to create there. So now actually let's talk about the different calendar themes. So I did kind of skim them over, but goal-directed actions. So these are like the primary themes, tasks that move the ball forward. So you want to have roughly 2 to 3 blocks of these per day, or just 2 or 3 of these themes. So maybe, for instance, you want to work on more of it later here. You can just kind of extend this into the remainder part of the day, right? But that's just the goal directed actions. And then from there, we have active recovery. So for this is just things that, like, it doesn't mean you're sleeping or whatnot, but it's just good for your body, for your mental health, for your spiritual health, for your emotions. So these could be like sauna, cold plunges. These could be maybe exercising, things like that, things that actually regenerate your body. Now, when it comes to high leverage actions, these are actions that aren't necessarily goal directed actions, but these are actions which can help you get more time back per unit of effort put into it. So maybe it's learning a skill, maybe it is having a meeting with your teammates or whatnot. Maybe it's maybe it's creating a quick automation for something which gives you more time back in the future. When you think of high leverage, you want to think of how can you get more time back per unit of time you spent into doing something. A no-brainer here is like learning skills. If you're learning some sort of skill, whether it's like sales, whether you are practicing a skill or something like that, if this is a high leverage action which can bring you back more time in the future, then that is something that deserves the sort of blue color. Other work is more so like admin, just random work, things don't really move the ball forward, but it's kind of like you have to do it. Then you also have sleep. Yes, you definitely want to track sleep. Anything which may be a social activity, anything which is just like a time waster. So for instance, social media, you want to have that planned out. Maybe watching Netflix or TV, you want to have that planned out. Usually on Fridays also, I have like a little time block here for just some sort of entertainment, but I just don't have that for this week. But nonetheless, this is just kind of how you can structure and give themes to various different parts of your calendar. And it's good to also separate these so you can easily just like toggle them and see clean views of your time, right? And I know we have like this tasks calendar here, and personally I have not been using it, but for the most part what this is just like surrendering to your calendar, being able to do like a power down ritual, which I'll explain in just a second, and also compressing your work hours. So recently I've been experimenting with compressing my work hours, so rather than just going 7 days straight of like 10, 12-hour work days, I cut off about 25% of my time into work, taking a full Sunday off for like roughly a 6 to 8 week experiment. And I'm seeing if I am more productive in those time units of like, the Monday through Saturday versus having a full extra Sunday. And guess what? I feel like from just studying my past 6 weeks of compressing my time, as in I'm still getting just about as much work done or even more with 6 days of work in my calendar versus 7. The reason why for that is Parkinson's laws, because if you say give yourself 1 hour to do something, it's just going to take you 1 hour, right? But if you give yourself 1 month, it's going to take you 1 month to get the same task done. And the reason why is because you give yourself this amount of time. So yeah, you're just going to stretch it out and probably give yourself this amount of time. But if you give yourself a whole month, you're probably going to take yourself a whole month just to do the same task, which I think is kind of ridiculous. So when you work with like insane urgency and also to compressed time limits, you try to figure out and prioritize what are the highest leverage actions to get done every single day. So when you limit yourself to only 2-3 like major themes of work you can do per day, that's all you could do, right? And then also when you give yourself a stop limit that you can't go past 7 p.m., then this is also compressing your work hours. So you're not just overextending your day and just not finding time to do anything, right? So there was a period in my life where I was just purely just working. And I get it. Like there's periods for that. You should have that. And I wanted to do some other social activities. So whether it's like learning how to dance, learning other skills, learning other interesting things that I might not know if I'm interested in or not, or just like exploring different parts of my personality. Well, I didn't have time for that because it was just, I was not managing my time properly. So now ahead of the month, like at the beginning of every single month, I can plan out all my relationships. Who would I want to contact this month? Who do I want to say rekindle a relationship with, or what kind of new activities or sports or say maybe forms of entertainment or social engagements I want to try this month, right? So I've been trying out a bunch of new things, and from that, like my relationships area improves, my social skills improve, my life quality goes up because it's not just purely isolation, but it's more so being able to talk and chill with other people, meet different kinds of groups of people in these new environments. So I feel like this is like a huge, massive unlock to like fully max out your life when you can pretty much make time for everything. And if you can make your time for everything, that means you have some sort of total ownership of your time. And the way that starts is with your calendar. So whether you're doing this in Apple Calendar, you're doing this in Google Calendar, which is probably the easiest, that's the easiest place where to start. And one other thing I wanted to quickly mention here is the power down ritual. So what that is, all that really is just kind of taking an assessment for what the heck just happened today and pretty much looking over what you got going on tomorrow. So the way I usually do this is it's very simple. So like, let's say I'm trying to plan out my days for the next day. I do a few things. So first thing I look at is my weekly goals in comparison to my monthly goals and compared to my yearly. And then also I have like this massive like life vision, right? So it all interconnects because you want to pretty much have this first, because if you have all this first, you kind of know the direction of where you're going. So you can't maybe have the vision perfectly planned out to the T in your life. And that's totally fine because it's very hard to know where you're going to be a couple years from now, especially to now in the age of AI. So the way you want to work with this is just work backwards, know where you want to go, create a yearly, like 1 or 2 year goal out, create a set of goals, right? And then from there, you want to pretty much create monthly goals for the next month or the current month you're working on, which somehow achieves this. And then what you want to do is create weekly goals, weekly by reflecting what's going on in your week, which somehow achieves these monthly goals, right? Because if you work backwards and this helps you achieve your monthly goals and these monthly goals help you achieve your yearly goals, the hypothesis here is that you can achieve your life vision. So when you understand this and you work backwards, you have a clear trajectory of what to work on the next day. So every single day, the next day, before I pretty much start my day, I know exactly just a few themes that I have to edit. So it's just these deep work themes, and that's really it. Unless I have to like maybe do something, maybe I want to plan a trip or I want to plan some sort of activity, then maybe I might rearrange my schedule. But for the most part, just pretty much looks like this. It seems boring, but boring things really are what just work at the end of the day. So you'll come in, like, as you can see here, like I have planned out like YouTube video to create this. So I'm actually creating this right now during this block. So on average, it takes about 2 hours to like have everything. So what you want to do here is in every single core theme block, what you want to do is you want to pretty much plan everything. So what are you going to do next step, right? What are you going to do here? And you want to name this and you want to know exactly bullet by bullet where you're going to be moving from one task to the next, because the ultimate peak expression of flow state, when you can just be in this state of oneness of just purely being with your work, you lose your sense of self. There is no sense of time because you're just purely in the work, is when you know exactly what to do next. And I know that sounds ridiculously easy and just simple, but all it really is when your brain can just easily just move to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. And ideally, these tasks are batched in a way where they all kind of feel similar. So if you're doing creative work in the morning, you want to batch all that stuff together. If you're doing like sort of logical work, you want to batch that together. If you're doing some sort of, say, communications work, something with other people, you want to batch that. And it just helps you stay in a flow state because you just go from one thing to the next and the next. And it just keeps you in this sort of lockstep where things just move easily. And next thing you know, the day is done. That's all it really feels like. So the way you can really take ownership of your time, your schedule, and your life is when you own the calendar. You have to own your time. You have to know exactly what you got to do, because I'm telling you, this is game changer. Rather than just, because I've tried different things, like, hey, get 3, 4, 5 things listed for the day. These are your primary objectives, and then do that, and that's it. And I did that for a long time, right? But at some point, things just stretch out. And given my personality, I like to just, if there is no limit, I'm just going to work all day. And I realized at some point this is just unhealthy just for my mental health or whatnot. So the thing that has really just balanced a lot of my life is when I was able to time box everything, compress my work hours, so I know that there's a limit to my week in terms of how much I can work. And if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. That's a problem. So that automatically forces me to find the highest priority activities in my life in relation to my goals that I got to achieve for this week, this month, this year, whatever. And then that forces me to find the highest leverage activities every single day. And if it's not a high leverage activity, I got to figure out, okay, does this even make sense? Do I delete it? Do I automate it? Do I delegate it? So it helps me ask better questions, which leads to better answers at the end of the day. So if you ask better questions, you get better answers. So this is how you can take control of your life. This is how you can take control over your calendar. You literally got to have a calendar that keeps you locked in. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helps, and I'll see you in another one.